Why the Neanderthal DNA is still in us. 60,000 years ago, when modern humans first walked out of Africa, they weren't alone. In the forests and cold regions of Ice Age Europe and Asia, Neanderthals were already living there. They had heavily built bodies, wide noses, and strong muscles that helped them survive in freezing winters. For a long time, people thought of them as a dead-end branch of evolution, but DNA proved the idea wrong. In 2010, scientists read the first Neanderthal genome from ancient bones, and the results shocked everyone. Almost every person alive outside of Africa today has bits of Neanderthal DNA, which is about 1 to 4%. That might look small on paper, but across thousands of genes, it means our skin, immune system, and even moods still have traces of those Ice Age humans. The discovery also showed something a lot more personal. Neanderthals weren't just living as rivals for food or land. They interbred with our Homo sapien ancestors, and that interbreeding didn't happen only once. It actually happened many times as humans spread across the huge land bridges of Eurasia. Each child born from those unions had a part of Neanderthal DNA, passed down all the way into the present. Scientists can now track which groups kept which pieces, tying them to traits like hair color, body fat, or even resistance to sickness, starting with the most visible signs, our skin and hair. Scientists have found gene variants from Neanderthals that control how we react to sunlight. People who tan easily, burn quickly, or grow freckles often have those polygenic and Neanderthal DNA traits. Neanderthals had lived in Europe and Asia for hundreds of thousands of years, in lands that were colder and had weaker sunlight than Africa. So their bodies had already adapted to those dimmer skies. Then, when our ancestors arrived in those same regions, they didn't have to start from scratch. They inherited Neanderthal versions of genes that affect how the skin makes pigment, how it protects against UV rays, and how it balances vitamin D in low light. That may sound small, but it was a difference between survival and sickness. Without those changes, early humans might have struggled much more to live so far from the equator. Hair also had the same signature. Some Neanderthal gene variants are linked to lighter or darker shades of hair, and others change how thick or straight it grows. Even baldness in men has ties to ancient DNA. A major part of this is keratin, which is the protein that hardens skin, nails, and hair. In many people with Neanderthal ancestry, keratin genes show stronger activity. That boost most likely gave early humans tougher skin against wind and cold, and hair better suited for icy winters. That's only half of it. Even the way your body responds to infections is connected to Neanderthals. Our strange immune system. When our ancestors first stepped into Europe and Asia, they walked into a world full of new dangers. Strange germs, bacteria, and deadly viruses were in every stream, cave, and animal they hunted. Neanderthals had already faced these threats for hundreds of thousands of years, so their bodies had learned how to fight these threats. By having children with them, humans picked up some of those defenses. These genes made it easier to survive deadly infections that could wipe out whole groups. But there's a problem. The same defense that helped in the past can cause trouble today. Some people with Neanderthal DNA are more likely to have allergies, hay fever, or illness where the body attacks itself instead of germs. Back in the Ice Age, these genes were life-saving. In today's cleaner world with medicine and vaccines, they sometimes work against us. Food and cold were other major tests for survival, and Neanderthals passed down answers for those too. Life in the Ice Age meant days without hunting success and long winters with little to eat. To stay alive, their bodies learned how to save fat and stretch energy for as long as possible. They were short and strong, with wide frames and muscles built for tough work, and their genes made sure every bite of food was stored and used well. When humans mixed with them, we inherited that same setup. Today, scientists can see these old traits in how some people's bodies store fat, how their metabolism works, and even in the higher chance of obesity. But that's not all. Neanderthal DNA also affected the brain, changing how we feel pain, how we sleep, and even how we react to stress. How we feel pain, think, and sleep. You see, some people today feel pain more strongly than others. And scientists have found that certain Neanderthal genes are linked to pain sensitivity. Their DNA affects how our brain handles mood and stress. Studies show that some people who have Neanderthal variants may be more likely to struggle with depression, nicotine cravings, or anxiety. That doesn't mean the Neanderthals were constantly sad or addicted, but it does hint that their brain chemistry worked in slightly different ways. Those differences were passed down, and they are still associated with how some of us think and feel, even though they don't determine them. Neanderthals had to live in northern regions where winters were long and summers short, so their bodies adjusted to unusual patterns of light and darkness. The genes that helped them manage those rhythms are still here today, but they also don't stop in the brain. Neanderthal DNA may also show up in the shape of our heads and faces. Broader skulls, strong jaws, and subtle brow ridges can sometimes be linked back to their genes, although the changes are small and often mostly indirect Neanderthal influence. Beyond looks, their DNA even left its mark on our blood. Some of their variants affect how blood clots, how the body reacts to germs, and even how people respond to modern diseases. For example, studies found that certain Neanderthal genes may make COVID-19 worse in some people, while other variants might protect against it. There are also possible ties to how humans resisted older diseases like malaria. But does this mean the influence Neanderthal DNA has on us is more than our other ancient ancestors? Stereotypical belief of Neanderthals. The simple answer to this is no, and here's why. Neanderthals aren't the only ancient relatives in our DNA, so that means they weren't the only ancient humans who left their mark on us. In Asia, modern humans also met and mixed with Denisovans, which is yet another branch of our family tree. The most famous Denisovan gift is found in Tibetans, who have a gene that lets them live and work at extreme altitudes where oxygen is thin. Without it, survival in that part of the world would be nearly impossible. This shows that interbreeding wasn't only about chance or attraction. Sometimes it was a strategy for survival. There were also groups known as ghost populations, like the basal Eurasians, who seem to have carried little or no Neanderthal DNA at all. Some people have a larger share of Neanderthal or Denisovan genes, while others barely show them. But no two people alive outside Africa have the same set. Now that we know why and how the Neanderthal DNA is still in us, does that mean the stereotypical belief of Neanderthals' foolishness applies to us too? For more than a century, the word Neanderthal has been used as an insult. It's a way to call someone dumb or slow. But modern science shows Neanderthals definitely weren't mindless cave dwellers. They made tools, they hunted, they adapted, and most importantly, they passed on their survival traits and physical features that we still have today. Not to mention our immune systems, our skin, and even the way some of us process emotions or light in the winter. That makes Neanderthals less like strangers and more like a hidden branch of our own family tree. So, the next time someone calls you a Neanderthal, the surprising truth is, they're not wrong, but neither you nor the Neanderthals are foolish. If you enjoyed this exploration of why and how the Neanderthal DNA is still in us, then hit the like button and share it with everyone you know who would love to see it. To stay updated on more ancient history and recent impressive DNA analysis on ancient history like this, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos. We hope to see you in the next one.